a decade now. His areas of interest, as could be inferred from the flurry of his publications in extraordinarily renowned journals, seems to be mindfulness, yoga, workplace spirituality, and how these spiritual dimensions of our intelligence can garnish our understanding of management and organization development as a whole. Professor Ashish's contribution stretches itself across dimensions of management, where he has been on a very crucial role of imparting FDPs under Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Teaching. Recognized as the agent of word benefit with aim to flourish prizes by Fowler Center of Business for publishing exemplary case studies, he is also being awarded in 2006 for IBA Best Paper Award in Consortium of Students of Management Research at IISc Bangalore. He was also awarded with Satya Sai Bal Vikas Alumni India Achievement Award for incorporating value-based education and research in his academic career. And now today it's our turn to be blessed by his wisdom and experience. I request Professor Ashish Pandey sir, please join us and commence the session.
Hello. Much for very generous words. I'm
May I request Professor Ashish sir to please join us?
yes, yes. I'm. Can you see me?
Yes, sir. You're visible, sir, and you're audible as well.
Okay,
Thank you,
fine.
sir.
So, so words introduction to share some of my thoughts uh, on this topic of innovation in the field of business, new business models. Something is strange actually. This is a fortunate because uh, um, uh, in these programs we get to interact with our colleagues, and that make that imparts sort of learning about going on the field. So really looking forward to this interaction. Excuse me for some problem here. Uh, uh, my computer has, my laptop has started behaving in a very strange manner. The moment I start WebEx, this laptop gets restarted. So every time it restarts, it takes another 7 minutes to kind of go back to the slides and means doing all the functions. So I'm going to email my presentations to Professor Prabhakar, because his email ID is with me, and request some of you to uh, Professor Prabhakar or anyone. Professor Prabhakar can forward it to anyone.
Okay, sir. Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
For all participants. As soon as my laptop restarts, I'll give you. So we are going to talk about the design thinking and innovation. Design thinking and innovation are deeply connected. That's why I thought that this can be a good topic uh, during the program on innovation. My association with the field of innovation or field of social entrepreneurship and social innovation uh, has not happened through entrepreneurship field or general management field or finance or on entrepreneurship as such. I'm I have been a student of organization development. So I'm interested in how to develop people, groups, and organizations to realize their full potential, to realize their different facets of potential, moving beyond cognitive, leading to emotional and spiritual potentialities as well. While working on these topics, I realized that a lot of these possibilities realizing the full potential of human being depend on the design of business and business model. We cannot expect people to reach to the full potential. We cannot expect people to realize their spiritual potential while working in an organization which is inherently in net terms polluting environment more than it is making better of the environment. It is making the life more miserable than making life more joyful, or enhancing more inequality, enhancing the equality more than it is creating wealth. So, at the ultimately, it is the business model and the business theory and business approach that will decide uh, how human potential is expressed and realized. So, somewhere we had to take this uh, plunge, and that's where I started reading and studying uh, more about social entrepreneurship and this social innovation. If we look at the what is happening around the world, we can get some insight why this topic is important and why social innovation is important. And then we look at how design thinking can facilitate this whole process. So, very like three critical data points can be looked at. Uh, One is about economic inequality. Another one is about uh, meaninglessness, the cultural divide, spiritual and cultural divide. The first is economic divide, second is cultural divide, and if we look at uh, the wealth concentration happening to the very less percentage of crowd, less percentage of population in the world, we are seeing the inequality is rising. We are also seeing that at one level the inequality is rising, and at another level we see the number of people dying or killing themselves through suicide. Uh, that number has already surpassed the number of people dying in accidents, wars, and terrorist attacks. In fact, in the USA, the number of people dying in the blind shootouts is much more than the number of people dying in the terrorist attacks. Not a single person should die, and terrorism must stop. But what I'm saying is that in the media, in the public discourse, the airtime given to war, terrorism, is much more than the number of hours and the time spent and airtime given for the discussion about mental health, spiritual connect, well-being of the individual and society. So, uh, if we look at what is going on around us, if we look at what is making us, uh, what is the chief vehicle through which most of the human activities, the productive activities are channelized, we see it as business models. We see it as business organizations. Wherever you are sitting in your office or at home, just look around and see the goods or the stuff, the things which you have around you, and you can see that all the things which produced by some organization, by some business organization. So that is the power of business in current times. Businesses at one level can be held responsible for uh, enhancing inequality, making the work less meaningful. Uh, but
Sir, your voice is not coming. Please share. Your voice is not coming, sir. It's very low.
okay.
Now it's better, sir.
Can I stop my video and try?
Okay, sir. Okay.
Let me see. I hope that this way. So I was saying business organizations at one level can be held responsible for enhancing economic, social, and spiritual divide. But at another level, business organizations can be the source of positive change in the world. But any positive change in the world requires some conscious effort, that requires some practice, that requires some commitment. And how business organizations can be the source of positive change, I see that uh, can happen with the power of design thinking. So that is the reason why I have suggested, and am happy that Professor Prabhakar and his colleagues have accepted this proposition, that we need to have something on the design thinking, because that is the core of, that is the fundamental capability through which we can look at things in the in a different way. We can look at things in a fresh manner. So I tried my again to start WebEx on my laptop, but again this my laptop has got into the restart mode. So now I will not try, and I'll straight away send the PPT. Nonetheless,
Okay,
so
sir.
so this is the background. So why design thinking? If anyone is thinking about why social innovation and design thinking, that is the background. We are having social and economic and spiritual divide. For that, we need different types of business models and business organizations, and for that we need different type of thinking, and that different type of thinking can be developed, and that process which can lead us to a different type of thinking, because until we start thinking differently, we cannot promote different ways of thinking to our students. And so that's where the role of design thinking comes. I'll start with one example. There was a cycling company in US, and they were facing downturn slope. Uh, they were they were the market leaders in the racing cycles, sport cycles, but there was a major downturn in the sales. People were just not coming to their shops or showrooms. They were not looking interested in the cycling. All that was, those were the challenges. Uh, what might be the company's response? What naturally comes to our mind? What we should do about this? I'm inviting your responses. Anyone can share. If I'm a market leader in racing cycling company, the company showroom is seeing very less footfall, decreasing footfall month after month. What do I need to do?
Focusing more on advertising, sir. I'm Krishna Mohan Geetan.
Okay. Yes.
Focusing more on advertising and also competition.
Okay.
We have to do market research why it is downtrend.
Okay. So whom we should talk to and what we should ask in the market research?
Consumer, we have to go to the consumer and do the market research. So what is the need has been shifted. What consumer
Okay.
want. Yeah.
Okay. Any other thought? That's correct. Market. We need to do market research. We need to talk to the consumers, customers, prospective customers. What else?
To develop some innovative design improvement so that customer can adopt. The old bicycle should be diffused and adopt some new product.
Okay. So we should go for the product innovation. That's correct. How we can go about it?
To study the existing bicycle manufacturer, what are the customer using presently, and what can be you develop to suit for the to adopt the customer innovatively. There may be, see, earlier, if you compare last 20 or 30 years back, or there was only pedal bicycle. Nowadays, again, after 10 years back, you go through with gear type. That is innovative. If you change the gear, you can increase the speed or decrease the speed. This is the one type of innovative bicycle developed 10 years back. Even today also, you can provide some electric motor. It can run with electric motor if required. If you want to press the pedal, then also means dual way. It can work on electricity, it can work as a manual. So such type of dual activity or innovation.
Sir, you're not audible. Hello, sir.
Some connectivity issue is there.
Yes, yes.
Your voice is not audible, sir. Ashish sir's voice is not audible.
Sir, we can't hear anything, sir.
Yeah, I'm calling to Ashish, sir. Just give me for a few minutes. I'll just call him.
No issue, sir. We are waiting.
if you can produce a commodity which is of good quality, that is wonderful. That was very good enough. But then the goods era came, from commodity era to goods era. And if you see, just for example, if we visit an American store, or if we visit in the big cities, some of the departmental stores, on the energy drink, we will see maybe 15 types of energy drink. So if those who are of my age, or are in their kind of 40s, they must be remembering that on the earlier days, if you called energy drink, what used to be the only thing come to our mind? When we would call, when we used to say energy drink, what was the obvious thing used to come in our mind?
Red Bull.
Red Bull.
Sir, Red Bull तो अभी आ गया है. In the earlier days, maybe 10 years ago, what used to be the thing?
Glucon D.
Glucose D.
Glucon D, that's it. Yes. So that was the commodity, and then came many other energy drinks. So that is the reflection of the goods era, where you have energy drink for different age group, energy drink for people having certain type of allergies, vegan energy drinks, or energy drinks free of some caffeine or with caffeine, all that. And then came the era of services. The services era is where everything was considered to be a service. So though you are offering a product, but service is important. So even in the FMCG, it was converted into service in the form of some network, in the form of some prizes, in the form of some lotteries. Even if you are if you are selling white good, then of course service was the important thing, and after sales service became very important. This was excellently pronounced in the car market. I started my career 20 years ago, not even 20, even more than 22 years ago. It's in 99, 2000, while working in a car company. I used to sell Opel Corsa and Opel Astra. And that time I realized that most of the earning of these car dealers, distributors, who used to have like whole kind of a state as their territory. So there was one car distributor of Opel Corsa and Opel Astra of the whole MP state. And while working with them, I realized that, okay, the major money which they make is not by selling the goods, selling that car, that the money which they get on that car was very less. That is not good enough to run a to run a showroom, to accommodate, to meet the HR people salary requirement, or the maintaining certain levels of facilities. The majorly they were making money through the workshop, which was actually a service. So in the car manufacturing, it pronounced very strongly from this movement from commodity to goods to services. And then came the era of experience. The experience, everything is experience, and every experience has to have a story. There is further more personalization. There is further more personalization, where you wish to connect a product with a personal story. So Raymond is carry the story of a successful man. Mercedes is carrying the story of a man who is arrived in his life. Um, any example, and you take even the Chawanprash, the experience and the story is of a very fit person, and that will be the focus area. Clothing, white goods, Apple is a greatest example of because Apple product are not Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if we look at why a person will purchase Apple product when similar kind of similar functionality can be purchased with 1/5 of the money. It is story. It is experience combined with the story. So if we look at the Apple product, they have created a product and then they have weaved the story of a person who is very up to date, of a person who is using the cutting edge stuff, of the person who loves the exclusivity, who loves the most efficient ways and most technically savvy ways of doing things. So you have this experience and story very beautifully woven, and that is the experience market. And now we are moving to the transformation market, where things have to be transformed in collaboration with customer. That has happened in the shoe market, that has happened in the education field, that has happened greatly, that is going on greatly in the clothing sector, garment, that co-creation, that transformation. We are in the transformation stage of customer engagement and marketing and business environment. In this kind of context, we need to not only be aware of the physical attributes of the things, but we need to be aware of the story we create around our product. And that makes design thinking even more important. I would like to, may I request to go to the 8th slide, where we distinguish the business approach in 20th century and 21st century. So in 20th century, we were talking about scale and scope, but in today's time, in current times, we are talking about speed and fluidity. 20th century was focused on predictability, but today's time is making decisions and being agile. 20th century wanted, people were hoping, the management fraternity was hoping to achieve very high level of efficiency by excellent process design, excellent systems and procedures. But now it is realized that rigidity in the systems and procedures, or perfection, there is nothing like perfection in the systems and procedure. We need to have fluidity. We need to have a capability to keep absorbing the new trends, keep absorbing the new knowledge, and accordingly changing our story and transforming our product in close collaboration with customers. From command and control, things are moving towards more creative empowerment. If we look at the knowledge worker in the current time, the kind of autonomy they have, it is phenomenal. Because the technology is making the technology. If we look at, take example of any software company or any IT-based company. Suppose there is a company which is managing the telecommunication network of a big client. Now, one person might be responsible, and that person can have a major role in creating major problem in the telecommunication in some part of the world. One person has that capability, because we have such technology where very few people are needed to run the whole system. So naturally, people have got more and more power, and that has to be used consciously, and that has to be harnessed well. That need and that requires not only technical prowess but attitude to use that power judiciously. So entrepreneurship is becoming important, because every day a new business model is coming. If we look at the IBM CEO survey, and every 2 years they publish the CEO survey, interact based on the interaction with 1500 to 2000 CEOs. In the current times, in last 2-3 surveys, what is coming out very clearly in the top 5 challenges for the business leaders is protecting their business models to get changed, get transformed. Very quickly, business models are getting redundant, and preventing our business model to get redundant is the most important challenge. Competitive advantage has given way to comparative advantage, and simple data analytics has to move towards synthesizing big data. So we are now living in these times that requires a different kind of thinking. Design thinking is different from strategic thinking because strategic thinking is based on the environmental appraisal and objective data of the past performance. Whereas design thinking opens up many more opportunities for imagination and where you can think beyond the existing data. So can we move to the 7th slide, the previous one? The strategic planning has a limited power for strategic innovation because it is primarily based on crisis to be handled or opportunity to be embraced. But design thinking helps us to move beyond the existing business model, existing business paradigm. There's a famous statement of Tomlin that problem with the rat race is that even if you win, you are still a rat. But we know we are most of us are aware of this so big literature of the blue ocean strategy. It is basically based on design thinking. It is based on approach of developing a new market. It is based on creating a new market, moving beyond our predefined boundaries, predefined industrial boundaries. Can we move to the 9th slide, please? Okay, so design thinking is the transformation of existing conditions into preferred ones. So we do not talk about the existing product or services. Basically, in the design thinking, we talk about existing conditions. And existing conditions can be about literacy, can be about health, can be about entertainment, can be about mental health. Thinking about the big problems of the current times. Design is always linked to an improved future, and then applying human-centric approach to identifying problems followed by rapid prototyping of ideas into tangible artifacts or non-functional models. How it is different from a conventional understanding of the innovation or problem solving. It's different from problem solving because problem solving thinking is based on generating options, generating breaking situation into different components, identifying the probable solution, choosing the best probable solutions or primarily the best solution. Design thinking takes us beyond it. It invites us to look at how things can be without worrying about and calculating about our current resources. First, imagining what things can be, and then accordingly, everything else is followed. And that's how the great business ideas have developed. Take example of Wikipedia. Someone would have thought that Wikipedia, there has to be some resource which can be co-created, which can be readily available resource on all the topics, and which is a substitute of the encyclopedias. That must have resulted into first step, and the founders of Wikipedia would have never thought that this will become so big. Google, how many times Google was about to be sold to Yahoo? We know that at least 2-3 times Yahoo made some offer and Google The founders declined to sell it to them for only the economic reason, only for the pricing. Others, pricing was fixed. The pricing was identified by the founders, and Yahoo was not giving that much. And that is much lesser than what is what Google has become today. Much less, fraction of what Google has become today. Because Google was based on that what can be the future, and when that appreciation was not there in the Yahoo, people could not close that deal. By the way, we know that where Nokia stands vis-a-vis Apple, but many of us may not be aware that it is Nokia which, of course, we all knew that Nokia at one point of time was the market leader in the handset market, in the mobile telephone market. In 2004 and 5, they developed the application kind of touch screen kind of things. They developed some rudimentary applications as well, but that project was installed. That project did not get enough funding because people who were responsible were not able to see how the future can be, and those things fizzled out. And we know where Nokia is and where Apple is. Many Apple technologies. Apple technology, the internet technology and graphics, touch screen, mouse. These were not invented by the best known companies which are producing these stuff today. The graphic user interface was not invented by Apple. The mouse, the uses of mouse was not discovered by Microsoft Windows, Microsoft company. Internet was not discovered by Google. All three things, and the power of internet. The internet was kind of developed in 70s, but it was not the power, the commercial power was not realized by the Google. All these three things were realized by the research group of Xerox company. So Xerox actually could be the Google, Apple, and Microsoft of current time. But they somehow didn't do it because all these wonderful things which were happening in their lab, which was set up by, which was curated by some business leader with his vision, those things did not get traction in the business stream of that organization. So those projects were not taken up as a serious business opportunities. We know what Xerox is today, where the Apple, Google, and Microsoft. Xerox could be all three of these. So that is the reflection of the importance of design thinking, because it is anchored in the future possibility, what desirable future we want. So it is a way to take on design challenges by applying empathy. What is distinguishing in the design thinking is the empathy. It's an approach for the collective problem solving, a balanced need and feasibility. Looking at wicked problem, not shying away from the wicked problem, actually looking at the wicked problem. Handling problem at the systems level, and that requires a certain kind of culture. So it's a magical balance between business and art, structure and chaos, intuition and logic, concept and execution, playfulness and formality. That is called zone. Organizations which operate in this zone, they become great organizations. Innovations which are inspired by this zone, those becomes the great innovations. The current time has really changed from the conventional thinking to design thinking. I'll request to go to slide number 15. In the slide number 15, you will see that how the basic thinking about growth, predictability, change, relevance, all these are, click once more. Please click once more. Can you please click once more? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So can you click once more? There's one more content box in this slide. Yeah. So we are familiar to these terms which are written in the black: growth, predictability, change, relevance, extreme competition, standardization, creative culture, strategy in organizations. We all are familiar to these things. But business reality has shifted from these things. So please let the content be there. Let the full content be there. Please click once more. Yeah, thanks very much. So we have moved from growth towards storytelling, from predictability to strategic foresight, sensing. We are living at the time of value redefinition, experience design, humanization, prototyping, and business model design. The whole story is now changed. And we need to, as a management educators, we have great opportunity to do our bit to bring positive change to the world by training our students for this kind of thinking, which is driven towards solving the most wicked problems of current times. So we have now this opportunity to make difference to the world, because that is now not considered as foolhardy. Thinking about the big problems of the world and starting your business model with that kind of perception is not a foolhardy thing, because that is what we are seeing happening. We are seeing how the miniatures, how the very excellent medical devices are being created with much lesser cost, how much healthcare has improved in last 20 years, how much telecommunication has improved in last 20 years. All that is result of seeing from the perspective of desirable, desired future. So if we think about the biggest problem of current times, social divide, cultural divide, and economic divide, and if we start teaching from that space, we can teach a different level and different kind of innovation to our students. What distinguishes design thinking from problem solving, we've already discussed. Problem solving is looking at the problem in different component, identifying the probable solutions, and picking up the best possible solution. Innovation, as it was considered, it is like applying creativity to solve the problems profitably. Design thinking has two other things which make it distinct from typical innovation and certainly a typical problem solving process. What are those two things? Those two things are empathy and prototyping. Empathy, because we need to have a deep connection with the world, with the audience, with people, with this planet. So business models need to come not for the profit orientation, but from the deep empathy. And that's where I will move to the aspect of the social innovation, because social innovation do not arise from the urge to make profit. They arise from urge to make difference to the world with profit, profitably. And second thing which distinguishes the innovation process from design to design thinking is prototyping. Here the prototype in the design thinking is not developed as a fully functional model. Prototype and multiple rounds of prototyping is done, encouraged in the design thinking, is to get feedback. So if I am developing some instrument or if I am developing a business model, I need not to have this fully functional prototype. I can put up something, I can represent it with the help of few objects in my study room, keeping some objects one over other, and see how audience react to that, and see how it is going to work in the, and projecting our through our thinking how it is going to work in the real market. So here the idea of prototyping is not to prove that this product works, it is to get the feedback. So quickly getting feedback is very important. So failing is not the problem, but delayed failing is a problem, or delayed recognition of failure is a problem. Fail fast, fail quickly, that is the mantra. And we don't have resources to fail fast, and resources are always in scarcity. So that's where the innovative prototyping comes. With much lesser resources, if we can do the quick prototyping, we will get the feedback that compensate for the real-time failure. So empathy and prototyping, they are the different distinguishing features of design thinking. Can we go to the 17th slide, please? So it starts with empathy, deep connection. And empathy, as the word suggests, is about ability to feel what my fellow beings are feeling, what they are going through. From the space of empathy, defining the problem, not from the space of profitability. Hello? Yes. Yeah. Hello. Please go ahead. Yes, hello. Suresh ji, please go ahead. Yes, am I audible? Hello. Yes. Yes, am I
Ashish sir,
audible?
you are, yes, sir. Ashish sir, you are audible, sir.
Okay. Hello. Suresh ji wanted to say something. He was saying hello. So.
Yes, sir. Sir, actually, one problem here I find, the people you are sharing, when I want to take any screenshot, it doesn't allow. Can it be allowed?
Sir,
No,
all
it is
these
not allowed.
PPTs will be available to you. It will be shared with you.
No, that will be shared to you. Once we are going to
Okay,
finish
then
the
it's okay.
session, we will be
Okay.
sharing you.
Okay,
Okay.
then it's okay.
So it is not needed to have the snapshot. And WebEx
Okay,
does not allow to have the.
okay.
I will share you. I will share with you.
Okay.
It's no
Okay.
problem. Yeah,
So
please continue.
thanks, Suresh, for asking this. We got to know another feature of WebEx today.
Yes, sir.
So design thinking starts with empathy, moving to the and defining problem not from the perspective of profitability, margins, market share, but from the perspective of defining a particular problem. Then brainstorming the idea. That is the toughest job. That's a lot of action, lot of activity, and then comes prototyping and testing, and cycle continues. We can apply this to any situation in life. It is not necessary that we have to develop a business model to experience the power of design thinking. We can apply it to any situation. If I wish to change, if I wish to enhance the learning experience of my students, I can apply that. If I wish to make some positive change in my institute, I can apply that. If I wish to make some change in my surrounding and community, I can apply that. And as a teacher, we must indulge into this kind of experimentation, because that will give us confidence for teaching these things to our students. If we keep only teaching and if we do not try out things ourselves, then that power will not be there. What if we teach these things with some experience? That will give us a different level of confidence. So this is like a basic primer on the design thinking. If anyone has any question or comment or suggestion or frustration, please share.
Hello, I would like to add one
Before
point, sir.
yeah.
Sister, shall I proceed, sir?
Yes.
Sir, this is what you have mentioned, starting from empathy to testing. It is step-by-step process. Okay, first you go for empathy, define, brainstorming, prototype, test. Before that, what I suggest, sir, there should be one idea generation should be first. After that, we can go to other. Am I correct, sir? Idea generation should become first, sir.
Sir, ideas are generated based on the space we are operating.
Right, sir.
So if I am operating from the space of profit seeking, rent seeking, then I'll create one type of idea. If I am operating from the ambition, showing the world how capable I am, then we will develop a different kind of idea. But if I am operating from the space of empathy, I will be able to develop different kind of idea. So being empathic is the first step as far as the design thinking is concerned, because empathy will determine the quality of my ideas.
Correct, sir. Because you need to focus the user's experience as well as their emotional ones, right, sir?
Yeah, their overall experience, and that includes, of course, emotion.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thanks for clarification.
You're welcome, sir.
Sir, back to one point.
Yes.
I'm from industry
Yeah.
sector, from education side. So whenever we are launching any new product, I mean, sir, especially in automotive sector, okay, our innovation creative team is there. Before launching, they are getting the idea from from the ground level to top management. All the small idea everywhere they are welcoming. So suppose they circulated one, they are going to launch some product. Okay, they need some idea. So we are giving a lot of people are sharing their thoughts, process. Okay, some people are going positive way, some things are negative way. So further they make the filters. Which ideas are is the good? Which idea can be implemented to attract customer to use their emotional ones. So this is a one type of funnel we are using, sir.
Yeah. So the funneling is the crucial part. Which angle, which lens I am employing for funneling the idea, that is very important. If I am applying it from the customer's perspective, customer's experience perspective, as you said, I will funnel it differently. I will look at ideas differently, because ideas can be further developed, but how, in which direction those are developed are based on our attitude and based on our kind of commitment and empathy towards the certain group of stakeholders.
Right.
Because Nokia had all these lot of knowledge about the apps, about the touch screen and all that, but they couldn't focus on those things because they couldn't connect to what customer may look for. So we were working with a we were working with a real estate. We were working with a big corporate which had a very important, very kind of a strong real estate business as well. And in their real estate office, so they are into pharmaceutical, and I can give the name of the, nothing to hide about. So we were working with the Piramal group to start some project. writing some case studies, etc. So when we visited at their office, very interesting things we observed, and those were the reflection of the culture of that organization. I cannot dwell into all of those, but one thing comes very clearly when Nayak ji is asking this question. In their real estate office, so they have a multiple story building, and different group companies have head office at different floors. And top floor, I think ninth floor, not top floor, is that corporate office. In one of the floors where the reality business office was there, in the main meeting room, they kept a chair, vacant chair, the most expensive and prominent chair on which nobody sits, no management person sits. Why? Because that chair represents the customer. So top management, in order to instill the customer orientation, whatever ideas you have, whatever you wish to do, always keep in mind the customer, how the experience of that customer will be with this kind of intervention. So that's why that chair was kept most expensive, most prominent, differently colored from rest of the chairs. Nobody would sit because that would represent the chair, chair of the customer. Just to remind us to remain connected with the customer whenever we are making any business decision. So these are the practices which convey the importance of these thoughts and this approach. So if there are no other questions, we can move to the next part of the talk.
Yes, we can move, sir.
Okay. Okay. So just to summarize what is the happening on our planet, can you go to slide number 19? These are three numbers. These three numbers represent no slide number 19. Yeah, these three numbers are representing what is happening on our planet, what's going on. So this 1.5 is the reflection of the ecological divide. This 1.5 is what is called earth carrying capacity. So earth carrying capacity meaning how much waste is being created in proportion to how much waste can be processed by the planet. So this number of 1.5 is the conversion ratio, which suggests that we are creating waste which is 1.5 times more than the capacity of the planet to process that. Can we go on like this? How many years, how many decades we can go on? And what is the kind of planet our generation will hand over to our kids, to the children of humanity? So that is the reflection. That's what is happening. That is one aspect. Second aspect, which is reflected with this number 2.5. This 2.5 is amazing number. Amazing not in a positive sense, but in a sad sense, negative sense. 2.5 billion people are living below the poverty line since last 30 years, maybe even more. So the population is increasing, and a lot of people are coming out of the poverty trap and coming over the poverty line. But this number 2.5 billion has become a kind of a constant on this planet for last at least 3 decades. Can any planet, any civilization, any culture afford to have this kind of divide? Because these divides not only result into poverty, they are not only result into have-nots. Those have-nots become agitated as well, and they have sometimes they don't have any option but to get agitated. So the well-being of the overall population, everybody will not be happy if everybody else is happy. Nobody can be wealthy in a holistic sense until everybody is healthy. So Buddha used to say, no one can attain the liberation moksha until everyone on the planet attains the moksha. So even after realization, Buddha used to say, bodhisattvas have to come back to the life out of compassion, not out of compulsion. Most of our living is out of compulsion, but bodhisattva live out of compassion. They come to the planet out of compassion, and they have to keep coming until everybody else attains the liberation. This may not be the fact, but this is true. So this 2.5 billion is constant. In our culture and spiritual divide, this number 3 is also a very sad number, because that is the 3-time the number of suicides, the number of total suicides, and these suicides happen because of the disconnect, because person is not drawing enough life force, not emotional and spiritual support from the surrounding, and person is not connected to his or her real self. So number of suicides in the world are 3 times of the total number of total number of deaths caused by accident, terrorist attacks, and wars. And we know that how much airtime is given to the war, accidents, etc., and how less time is given for this kind of situation where a large number of people. And in India, this is particularly serious because unfortunately, India is the capital of the youth suicide in the world. The highest number of suicides there. Last so many decades, India is in top 2-3 countries in terms of the ratio of population and the suicide of the youth segment. So we need to have, why we should bother about design thinking, why we should bother about social entrepreneurship, because business has to be at the forefront. Business has to rise to this occasion. Like everybody else has to rise to the occasion. Politics has to rise to this occasion. Healthcare has to rise to this occasion. Education has to respond to this situation. So the business community also has to respond to this situation. And that's why social innovation is important. And there are organizations which are doing it. Not that things are not happening. Amazing things are happening. Fantastic things are happening. So before I talk about more kind of concepts, I'll request, please go to the last slide, slide 36. Thanks very much. You see some of the logos of some organizations here, and many of you must be familiar to at least few of these organizations. These are the examples how the social innovation is taking place and how we can direct our students, engage our students to think about business from the angle of social innovation. So first example you see in the left hand corner is of Gram Power. Gram Power is the organization which provides electricity to the far off places in the Rajasthan. So we know in the Rajasthan, particularly in the desert area, there are very small hamlets. So hamlet is much smaller than a typical village, generally consisting of a dozen or couple of dozen households, and they are very scattered in the desert. So it is difficult to supply electricity through the conventional means of raising poles, connecting it to wire, and all that. It's difficult. Uh, but there is another problem. People, even if government make that much investment and supply the pole, people may not be capable or may not be willing to pay the electricity bill. What Gram Power has done, they have created microgrids powered by solar power. Most of the parts of the year, solar energy is available. So this is a feasible solution. So they put up the solar energy based microgrids in those far off places. And in order to solve another social problem, which is people unwillingness or incapability to pay the electricity bill because they have to run the organization, so they have to have something, have to get the returns from the customers. They developed this technology of prepaid electricity. So like a mobile phone, you have a prepaid data plan, prepaid call plan. So you have a prepaid electricity plan. Once you exhaust, you first pay the money, then exhaust it. And after that, depending on your need, you can get the recharge. This is one example of the social innovation, which is creating facility. This is providing facility. This has a qualitative impact on the education of the kids, quality of life of the women, health condition, so many things. So this is one example of innovation, socially conscious innovation. We have another example of Cipla. The Cipla is the company had a major lawsuits against it in 2012-13 when they started selling a AIDS cocktail, which the multinational companies were selling for $350 per week. At the price of $350 per week, they started selling it for $10 per week. And their logic was that okay, the market, the medicine was developed and expenses are being incurred by the big pharma company in the R&D. But people who are suffering most from AIDS, and mostly they were in the African countries, they cannot afford this much. So if they cannot afford this much, there is no point in selling our stuff at such a high price. And if that is so, so they created the kind of a generic version of it. They much cheaper version. I don't know whether I can call it generic or not, but it's a cheaper version of it by making the cocktail. There was some process improvement they did at their place. I started selling it for $10 and attracted many lawsuits. But WTO gave the ruling in favor of Cipla. That was the social innovation, great example of social innovation. We have another example of social innovation from the ITC paper mill. Now, this ITC paper mill is again an amazing story. They were about to close this mill, and the business leaders were given 1 year's time to transform their business. In that 1 year, in order to get a supply of their raw material on a regular basis and at the reasonable cost, which they thought was the critical to survive, to remain afloat in the market, they started the process of social forestry. Hundreds of villages, thousands of people were roped in for in the Odisha and the Chhattisgarh, those border areas. They were trained little bit, and they were ensured that if they grow the bamboo pulp, the the company will purchase their output. They got the job. A lot of people who didn't have the enough kind of support for their earning, they got the source of earning. Company got the raw material at the lower cost and at more regular basis. Company remain afloat and became a shining example in the ITC group. That did not remain, and that was not closed down, became business wise also successful. We have example of INI farms. They started by giving the weather updates and the supply chain related data to the farmers. Now they got into the sourcing as well as storing of the agricultural product, working very closely in collaboration with the farmers. Thanks to their collaboration, large number of people have now developed a major source of their income. They are better connected to market. Their economic situation has got better. And INI farm is also growing well. We have example of Patanjali, another very interesting example, where the channel partners are not only related to the company because of their business reasons. Most of the channel partners of the Patanjali are the people who are beneficiaries of yoga and Ayurveda product. So they are doing it for the service. And as a result of that, they could keep the market price, they could keep the price of their product lower than market. But this is not only success of Patanjali. Another very important point of success of Patanjali is that they have re-established the market for Ayurvedic product. After Patanjali, if we look at how well Himalaya has done, that data can be proven. The Himalaya and many other Ayurvedic companies are now earning more profit. They have better reach. Certainly, there is a contribution of Patanjali to make these products more kind of appealing and restoring the faith of people in the Ayurvedic products and of course in the yoga process. If you click one more time, you will get another example. Can you click one more time? Everybody knows this. That's why this is what is the end. Amul. Amul is a marketing company. Amul is supply chain and marketing company. It is not a producer organization. Producers are farmers. But how many millions of farmers have become financially more capable is huge. And not only this organization has done something great for the people in that area, inspired by Amul. Now many states and suddenly the large states have their milk federations and based on the cooperative in their states. So in MP there is Sanchi, in Maharashtra there is some other company. Many of them are there. Most of the states have these cooperatives for the milk production, and India has done phenomenally well in the white revolution, producing milk. So these are the kind of examples we see where we can trace how design thinking was employed. They might not have used the word design thinking, but in most of these businesses, thinking started not from the profit. Thinking started from the perspective of empathy, changing the nature of the future, changing the state of affairs. And from that perspective, business ideas were derived. Business ideas were not derived from the ambition, profitability, or kind of achievement. So these are to me are the practical applications of the design thinking. If anyone has any question or observation or comment, you are most welcome.
Hello, I would like to add one point. Whenever talking about social innovation, best example is Mansukh Patel, the Mythical fridge. When there was
Mythical,
a, yeah, Mythical fridge, it was developed during the earthquake when it was in 1999, I think, Kutch. The peoples are suffering. That time Mansukh was invented. It's a Mythical fridge. Nowadays it is got best business.
that's true. So, anyone who is more interested to know more of such examples, I'll urge you to go to this website of aim2flourish.org. AIM numerical 2 flourish. I'm not able to type, but someone can type and put it on the chat box after checking the link. Aim to flourish. The aim to flourish .org innovation. This is one example where you will see hundreds of social entrepreneur based business are being listed region wise, sector wise, and they have very beautifully classified. They have classified it according to the SDGs. So which organization is addressing which SDG, that is how this whole classification is done. And most of the organizations are addressing more than one SDGs. So aim2flourish.com/innovation. Innovation is anyway when to the Aim to Flourish website, you can, yeah. So Divyaji has put it. Yeah, that's correct. Very first icon is innovations, and if you click innovation, you will find amazing stories. Amazing stories. You can go to the browse stories and check for those. There are 3,829 stories, and I feel very satisfied looking at this because when first time they started this website, I was amongst like first half a dozen people who uploaded their stories. And how that was done, I teach a course here on management of change. And in management of change, now that management of change course, organization development and management of change, that is a full title. That course is available. That full course is available on NPTEL, and all the lectures are there. And this lecture is also large part of the lecture is also there in the one of the kind of YouTube videos of this course. And when we were doing this course, I used to give this assignment to our students. I used to ask them to go to some business organization, some website, some site, business site, which is helping in addressing some of these problems. And they would go collect the stories, and I was just doing it because I wanted my students to and these were like second-year students already placed. They have some now. Their mind is more available. Their time and mind is more available for thinking about things which are beyond the immediate business needs. So they would go and my objective was to make them aware that business need not to only stuck to the financial terms. Business can be the source and force of positive change in the world. I wanted them to just look at how it is becoming a force of the positive change in the world. So we were doing this, and then this website came, and somebody told these people that I was doing this work, and then we uploaded many of at least 40 stories are being uploaded by my students on this. And that's how this Case Western University, this award came through by exemplary cases. So by putting some of the stories were really good, and they gave away these Aim to Flourish award to this organization and Aim to Flourish Professor award to me. And Our student got opportunity to travel to Cleveland, and they attended the global work conference on the sustainable development, sustainable business. So some of you may like to give this as an assignment to your students as well. Please browse through it. If you are doing some research and if you can put up some stories here, you are most welcome to do that. Please do this. And at least browse through this to know about how these organizations are changing the business ways of doing business. The next question we can look at is kind of any thoughts or any comment or any question before we move to the final part of our session.
There is one question in chat box, sir.
Can you read it for me?
Yes. How can we measure and can we enhance our empathy with the help of design ideas? And what are the process to enhancing empathy? This question was given by Vidyasagar Kumar from Pune.
Knowing and understanding is the beginning of empathy, and love is the end of empathy. That's what Buddha says. और अगर कोई किसी चीज को बुद्धा ने कहा है तो हम तो मानते हैं, आप भी शायद मानेंगे. Until we know someone, we cannot understand someone. So Buddha would invite anyone who is committing violence, he would invite his disciples to understand that person himself or herself is deeply hurt, and that hurt is reflected in his hurtful behavior. So that is the level of kind of empathy Buddha taught. One another contribution of Buddha's teaching is that he convinced humanity that we have unnecessarily learned the anger, greed, unsettled mind, and developed an unsettled mind. So like we have learned anger, greed, and excessive urge to have certain pleasures, we can unlearn as well. We can unlearn those things, and we can learn truth and compassion. So compassion is not something, empathy is not something which is there or not there. It is not something innate. This can be inculcated. So there is a very famous meditation in Buddhism called Maitri Karuna meditation. Friendship and compassion meditation. You can, after this session, you can just type the Maitri Karuna meditation and you will get some amazing clips. You can yourself, these clips will help you to get into that meditation practice. That's one. But the essence of empathy is understanding. When I understand someone from his own perspective, I start appreciating, I start understanding that. But empathy itself is not good enough. That's a starting point. We have to convert those empathic thoughts into action. And that is called compassion. That is the difference between empathy and compassion. Empathy is my ability to feel others' pain as if it is my own. But compassion is also an urge to do something about it. So when empathy results into some action, that is called compassion. So Buddha taught compassion. And when we do it, when my act is arising out of compassion, I will lead to a different kind of solutions. My act will be different, quality will be different. Those acts arising from my I'm empathic, I'm compassionate. It's not necessarily that my idea will be working. Certainly not. Most likely it will not. You need to be ready for prototyping. You need to be ready for feedback. You need to convert that to in this process,
Sir, your voice is
whosoever
breaking.
is successful has happened before
Ashish sir,
because of this with
Sir,
this
some
process.
disturbance is there.
Yeah.
your voice is breaking, sir. Ashish sir.
So it looks like. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible? Yeah. So that is my answer. Empathy is a starting point, but we should be willing to convert our empathy into action, and action will require some more and more experimentation. Some will be successful, some will not be successful. Having peace with that, being peaceful about that, and keep trying. That's what we want our students to be, so we have to demonstrate that ourselves.
Any other questions from the participants?
Okay, so if there are no questions, I will urge to go to the 23, 24 and 25th slide, the first 23rd slide. Because these slides talk about how we can create social innovation. How can social innovation be the stage 4? So can you go to stage 2? Yes. So how the social innovation can be introduced and are introduced in the established organization. So that starts with compliances. When it becomes a compliance issue, sometime organizations have to follow some regulations and have to do some innovations. So for example, Euro norms have come, that have become a compliance issue. But organizations which do not see compliance as a problem and who are proactive, they are benefited in the long run. Because HP, this example is given in the previous slide, HP research on environment friendly substance, they identified the lead solder, the substitute of the lead solder. Lead is not good for environment, so they developed the lead substitute of that. After they developed it, within 2 years, regulation came which banned the lead solders or asked the companies to replace the lead solder with something else. At that time, HP was was ahead of the learning curve, and they were able to do that. Yeah, next slide. Next slide. So that is the first thing. That is not really the proactive thing, so I didn't want this to be discussed much. Second thing is established organizations become introduce social innovation, become more sustainable by making the value chain sustainable. So Cargill and Unilever are some of the fantastic examples. The Unilever has really substituted their supply chain with the green supply chain. FedEx is again example, a replacement of the old aircraft with the Boeing 737. There are many examples where value chain is being made sustainable, and that's how the sustainability is introduced. That is also a very important social innovation. Second stage is, so third stage, stage 3. Next, please. Next is making value chain sustainable. Sorry, stage 3, designing sustainable product. So there's an interesting example of PNG cold water in USA. They calculated how much electricity is consumed by
breaking, sir.
You are not audible, sir.
Ashish sir, again your voice is breaking. Yes, you're audible now, sir.
They looked at how much electricity is being used by our customers, and they realized that 20% is used of washing machine. The next question was what we can do about it, and they, that's how they developed the cold water.
Sir, audio is not clear, sir.
Just yeah. Am I audible now?
It is better, sir. It is better.
Yes.
Okay. So and this product of the PNG was result of some activity what we understand as hackathon. So they have their yearly event for 2-3 days to develop new business ideas, and everybody in the company is involved in this. Large number of people get involved in this. Few ideas are selected for the further development, and in those hackathons, this the idea of this product, the cold water based detergent product, came up. So that's how the designing sustainable product happens. This can be done. This can be done profitably. And the last slide for today's session, coming next one, is developing new business models. So we actually started. Next slide, please. We actually started our discussion on the social innovation with new business model. This Calera's business is very interesting example. They make cements, and they make cements uh, which is produced by floating carbon dioxide in the seawater. The cement being produced in this process is not very good, of not very high quality, but is still useful for the certain type of construction like parking area and all that, and those kind of. So they give their product free to their customers, and they make money by charging companies for emitting CO2. So they purchase their CO2, they purchase their pollutants, they get the carbon credit, and that is their earning. So this was one example of creating new business model, and the last one is creating new next stage 5. Please move to the next. Is creating new practice platforms. So intellectual and financial investment is challenging in the existing paradigm, but very different type of technologies are coming up. Smart grid technology. Nowadays we have even MBA on social business. There are some very high-end MBAs where social business is taught. So that is also a new practice platform. I have seen last 20 years of my involvement in management education. We used to have one topic, CSR, and sometime in strategy class, sometime in ethics class, sometime in HR class. That was like 20 years ago. In 2004 and 5, it became kind of little prominent. In 2011, I got an opportunity to uh, kind of relook the course structure of our school, and we introduced new business, new courses on sustainable development and self-awareness and yoga-based practices and all those things. And when the CSR was made mandatory in 2011, 12, 13, we used to do open programs for the CSR managers. Organizations were not having enough idea, many organizations not having enough idea how to use the CSR funds, how to do the auditing, how to engage in the CSR activities. So we did a couple of programs for the working CSR managers. But when I look at now, everybody seems to be well versed with all these things. And now there's a great awareness about the social innovation, social businesses, sustainability based business models. There are so many funding, so many huge funds which are green funds. They also are based on this logic of sustainable development. So that all that makes me really hopeful that if in my 20 years of career, and I hope to have spent another 20 years in my career, in these first 20 years, if this much change has happened, as a humanity, as a civilization, we are moving towards a positive direction. So I'm pretty hopeful about the future of our planet, future of our civilization. All that requires, of course, democratic values, openness of mind, scientific temperament, integrative thinking, and that is where the role of teachers come. What we can do, what difference we can create to the world by shaping the young minds, and that can be done when we inculcate these values of integral development, thinking in a responsible manner about everything in life, and that will require us as well to put ourselves into some experimentations, and then the life will be more fun for ourselves as well as for our students. So thanks very much again for this opportunity. I hope currently I was seeing the black wall with few names being typed. Next time when you are here in the Hawaii area, please drop in to our campus. I would love to have tea with you. Thanks very much.
Should I stop sharing, sir? It's done.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much, sir. The window of your experience and knowledge that you have shared with us will for sure magnify our outlook for the higher purposes of our existence as a management organization and also as a socially responsible citizen. Thank you so very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Ashish, sir,
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
accepting our invitation and being the part of this program. It's really informative, as well as some of the thoughts that you talked about Buddha and its philosophy. It was really mind touching and heart touching. We'll try to go through it, the sessions that you have told us. And thank you. I thank you from my core of my heart for accepting our invitation, sir. Now I think we'll
Thanks very much.
break.
Wish you all very best.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Dear participants, now we'll break for the lunch, and the next session will resume at 2 o'clock. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
I request all the participants to go for the lunch and come back at 2 o'clock. So we will be having session on the understanding the technological, human, and economic dimensions of innovation by Professor Shifali Nagpal.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this side Nishant. I just wanted to know, sir, we can join back at 2 and like, is there any kind of an attendance module that is coming up since I'm joining, like,
Actually,
attending for the very first time?
taking your attendance based on your presence. So we will be
Okay,
having your
that's
mail
that's
IDs. So
that's.
based on
I
that.
was actually mistaken because I thought like in the normal FDPs, like the way they used to share a link. So that's why I inquired about it.
Fine.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Fine.
Thank you.
Sir, do we need to log out or can we stay in this link until 2 o'clock?
No, you can log out. You can join back at that time.
Okay. Thank you.